In this NuWave OxyPure review, I'm going to be giving you some insight into this new, unique technology that can help you purify and improve the air quality within your home or office. Now, please make sure you watch this entire video, as I'm going to go into the pros and cons of this device. And at the end of the video, if you still want to get the NuWave OxyPure, I'll show you where to get it and for the absolute best possible price. So here's the pros. So firstly, the NuWave OxyPure is claimed to be one of the best air purifiers available. There is literally nothing else like this available right now that allows for truly powerful, efficient, and effective air purification. There are loads of cheap imitations, but don't be fooled, you get what you pay for. The OxyPure is simple to set up and use. It's super easy to set up and use right out of the box. It's literally a matter of unboxing the unit and inserting one of the included air filter trays as you see here. And from there on in, it's very simple to use. It's also designed with a very sturdy build quality and is made to last. The filters are washable. This means you'll be saving yourself lots of money in the long term, as the filters can simply be reused over and over again. Pretty much all other purifiers on the market require you to constantly buy new filters, so this is a big advantage with the OxyPure. It's also highly energy efficient. The OxyPure includes OxyPure Eco Mode, which runs at the lowest fan speed until it detects poor air quality. Once it does, it automatically goes to the highest fan level until the air improves, and then it shuts off until it detects poor air quality again. This means amazing efficiency, which means you save a lot on power costs long term. Kills bacteria. According to NuWave, the OxyPure was tested by a company called Intertek Laboratories and was found to kill bacteria and mold within 2 hours of detection, eliminating these potentially deadly contaminants and not simply trapping them alive within the filters, as is the case with other cheaper products. Last but not least, the OxyPure is excellent for those suffering from allergies. Many of the reviews from people who purchased the OxyPure stated that it was a godsend in terms of helping them overcome or at least greatly minimize their allergy issues. So what about the cons? The main con with the NuWave OxyPure is related to one of its benefits. Although you don't have to buy new air filters, you will have to spend time washing the reusable filters that come with the OxyPure. This is generally not a big problem for most people though, and only takes a few minutes for each filter. Overall, the NuWave OxyPure continues to provide a top-notch solution for anyone who needs to improve the quality of air in their living room or working environment. The simple-to-use, sturdy design, along with the OxyPure's innovative washable filters, make this product a dominant competitor and incomparable if you want the best of the best in air purification technology. This device is also touted as one of the best on the market for those suffering with allergy problems, and will be worth every penny. Now, if you want to get the NuWave OxyPure for the best possible price, and you're currently watching this video on YouTube, then simply click the link below this video in the description, and you'll be taken to the best place to purchase it. Now, if you can't see the link in the description, you can also enter the following URL into your browser: futuretechreviews.me/OxyPure. Okay, thanks for watching this NuWave OxyPure review.